going on, guys? It's your boy MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today talking about Vlad, the Nightborn, the upcoming fragment fusion champion for Halloween. Happy Halloween to all of you. And most of you have already made your judgments about this champion. I'm sure you've heard about him, seen the champion already, have him showcased quite a few times already, and the overall feel for this guy is underwhelming. There's no other way to put it. I can't really sweeten it up anymore. Underwhelming. But what I did want to do is figure out, I'm not just going to say he's doomed, and no champion's doomed in my opinion. I just said this point in an awesome collaboration I did with Ash. Huge shout out to Ash, by the way, where we talked about fusions. We said there's no content in this game that is single champion content. It's all about synergy, and every single champion can be used because every account and raid is different. It is what it is. Every single account is different. There is going to be a way to figure this out. A lot of people are disappointed with this champion, but if you want to pursue this, it might be beneficial for you to get this. Keyword might here. This isn't the worst legendary in the entire game by any means. He has his uses. I'm not going to waste my time talking about what they can do to buff this champion. Pixneal, just think about Pixneal. She got buffed, and how good is Pixneal? Let's be honest here. So I did a bunch of testing. I wanted to kind of get a feel for where this champion could be used before I get into the final build that I'm going to show you here that I kind of previewed and spoiled a little bit here. I want to show you some screenshots of what I tested on stream, where I got to interact with a decent audience and see what we could find together. So the first thing I want to talk about is I tried him in floor 119. This was kind of my, I guess, dungeon and wave clearing test for this champion. I threw in Konstantin because I figured why not. And as we can see here, I had to use 3 of the best supports in the game, being Duchess Lilitu, Underpriest Brogni, as well as Seifi. If you're not familiar with floor 119 on the hard version of Doom Tower, currently in this rotation, it's, I believe, double Rhodos, Seifi, 2 Mountain King. It's a rather difficult wave to get through, and these guys struggled really hard. 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Yes, it's progression, but like I said, I had to use Seifi. I had to use Duchess Lilitu and Underpriest Brogni. There are much better champions that could have been used here, but I was determined to get this done and get this completed. So overall, not the best showing as far as a dungeon progressive point of view. There was one spot that did surprise me, but I'm not going to show you that just yet. I do want to move on to a clip from my stream where I did make a clan boss team with this using, it's kind of hard to see because it's small, but we have Tyrant Ixlamore, we have the homie Vlad, or Vladcula, whatever you want to call him, Rio Bonespear, Iron Brago, and finally Brago here. Now, as you may or may not be able to read from the chat on the screen, terrible champion. Why did they bother putting him in there? Chat wasn't very happy. I kind of agreed with them. Yes, they did 48.37 million damage, but looking at this here, Vlad did 12 million damage, so did Iron Brago. Now, of course, there are no poisons in this team. Vlad isn't necessarily a hard-hitting champion, but he can be used in a clan boss setting. I wanted to see for myself how viable this was, and if you take away Rio's heals, of course, we had the huge Valkyrie shield. This guy survived 50 rounds in Ultra Nightmare, and he was in, I think I have a picture somewhere of the type of gear he was wearing. Let me open that up really quick for you guys. So he was wearing pure damage gear. As you can see, he is speed tuned in the 190s there. Accuracy, listen, I went a little bit overboard with the accuracy, 282. You don't need that much, but I pretty much went full glass cannon with this guy, really utilizing the shield buff that Valkyrie does in fact give. And I even tested a few methods. I tried turning the A2 and the A3 off. I tried turning just the A2 off because Rio Bonespear was able to heal enough, but I did find out the best output for this champion was enabling all of the skills, because Rio does have that defense down on weaken that covers the first and second rounds. However, as soon as it gets to the stun round, defense down and weaken drops. Vlad, however, can apply that defense down debuff onto the boss there, which was beneficial and did up to damage. Still, overall, I think pretty impressive, seeing as they did come out with 48.37 million damage. But like I said, if you swap this guy with Raz and Scarhide or any poisoner instead of Vlad, they're going to do more damage. But one thing I wanted to test, which I did figure out with this, is you don't need lifesteal with Vlad. So if you are, I want to say, as far as brutal, I think anything past brutal, I don't think you're really going to need Vlad. But if you're up to brutal, you're struggling there, brutal or below, you don't need lifesteal on this champion. His A1 does in fact hit hard enough. He has a leech, which is a fantastic option to have to your advantage. If you already have a defense down on your team and you can sacrifice that defense down as like the off turn that I was just explaining with Rio Bone Spear, you can even turn that A3 off. Now, this is one thing that I tried and chat kind of understood what I was saying at the time when I was streaming on Twitch. Any champion where you have to turn skill abilities off just for them to kind of work, I mean, how feels bad is that, right? But like I said, it is what it is. This is the fusion we have. He's going to come out this way. I know there was some talk about him getting buffed in the test server. Whatever he's like in the test server, I did read the comments. It did look like one of the people talking about Vlad misspoke. There was no buff to him. What we saw in the test server is how it's going to be from now on. So don't get too excited hoping there's going to be some type of change, because what I'm showing you here is what you can expect. Now, the only other thing that I do want to show you guys is going to be the kind of final screenshot here. And let me see if I can find it. Okay, so the Scarab King. Now, this is normal, so everyone relax. This is floor 100 Scarab King and normal. We're not using Destroy Gear, because if you know about Vlad's kit, I'm just going to show this briefly because I'll show it in game. So if you know about Vlad's kit, his A1 specifically, we do have decreases the target's max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted, also heals the champion by 30%. As soon as I saw this, I said, Scarab, hello. A lot of people struggle with Scarab. You can do the Vergus solo, you can do the Euros solo, but what if you don't have those champions? What if you are far away from getting Euros in the Doom Tower? Of course, it's not easy, so you can in fact use Vlad. However, you cannot solo duo the floor 100 of hard. I tried, I used the best gear I had, couldn't make it happen. Maybe if I tinkered around with it for a couple more hours, I'd find the perfect build, but the gear requirement is just way too insane. So if you want to do this on floor 100 of hard, you're going to need Vlad, you're going to need Visix, as well as Sill of Drakes. Those three champions will be able to straight auto 100% win rate the floor 100 Scarab. But for all of the other rounds, you can use Vlad on his own. Now, I'm showing you gear here that I used in anticipation of floor 100 hard. The only thing you really have to take away from this is the resistance and accuracy, or when you're building this champion, if you want to use them to solo Scarab outside of 100 hard, once again, make sure you understand that. So this is going to apply to 60, I think 20 of hard, and then 160 and 20 of normal, or whatever the level breakdown is going to be for that. So with that being said, I do need to mention the only stats you need are going to be 100% crit rate, at least 200 speed, 226, like I said, it's going to be the equivalent for floor 100 if you're using 3 champions. If you're not using 3 champions and just Vlad, at least 200 speed, and you need your resistance and accuracy to match whatever level of the Doom Tower boss you're fighting. Of course, 360 and 370 that you see here in front of you, way too much for any account that's looking at normal. You can go with way less. I don't have the numbers in front of me here, but I'm assuming it's 200 of each, 150 of each, whatever that boss has as far as statistics. There are tons of guides out there where you can look it up and find out those exact numbers that you need, but it surprisingly works really well. This guy has the decreased target's max HP, it heals him, so he doesn't need any lifesteal gear. He lowers the turn meter. This guy applies leech for additional healing, has a defense down, the block active skill doesn't matter at all, and the passive doesn't matter at all, but it does matter during the waves. I do want to show you a quick example of what he's like during the waves, and why not, since I have him built. We'll go ahead and take him to the hardest difficulty. So the final stage, I believe, is right here. So he can actually solo the waves of this all by himself, which is pretty impressive to say the least. I mean, you can throw food if you want. Let's see, recently used first. Let's just throw some food here. If you wanted to cheese it, you can throw some food with an aura like HP No Battles, but we don't really care about that. So right now you can throw in with food, and he's going to get through the waves, and this is where some potential can come from Vlad here. So as we can see and as we saw from the stats, he's not built for damage, but these waves of course are kind of a pushover, but they can be annoying. But this guy, he puts revive on death on himself just in case it gets unlucky here. Now of course it's going to be a problem if he gets true feared or he has the buffs stolen from these war chiefs here, but this guy actually clears waves pretty good. However, to outgear content like this, if you really are in that situation, you're probably not going to use him to that extent. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about dungeons. If you want to use them for dungeon waves, mid game going to be fantastic. As soon as you hit end game, you're going to be like, why? Like, what do I need this guy for? You're going to have to run a defense down on top of this. He's okay. Like we see here, he does have a provoke on him. He's lowering that turn meter. Revive on death as soon as he kills a target. So lots of potential here. Gets through these waves, no problem. And you're going to see the problem quite shortly here. This is an attack-based champion. His base HP is crazy low. Base defense is low. So as soon as he walks up to this Scarab, watch. He gets that first hit in. He's taken way too much damage. I can just tell you right now. Look at that. He gets a counter attack there. Puts that defense down. He's not getting enough turns. Game, set, match. This guy is toast. But if you don't want to solo this guy or you are lacking in some gear, let's say you can hit the accuracy, the resistance, but the crit rate's struggling for you, who can you use? One champion that every player gets. I know I did say every account is going to be unique from each other. So what I did was I used login reward champions that everyone are going to be guaranteed to get. So if you want to use a champion, the best combination for you to use on the lower stages all the way up to the final stage here. I'm not going to do the final one because it takes way too long and I don't want to spend too much time here. So we will do, you know what, let's just do the first one of hard so we can get in, get out, and I can kind of explain the champions to you. So we're going to use Seal of Drakes, Visix, as well as Vlad, Vladkula, whatever you want to call him here. So these three champions together will have no problem getting through this scare without any crazy gear. You can use regeneration. You don't have to use regeneration on these guys. Most of this was geared towards Vlad simply soloing all of this stuff. And even the waves, some people do struggle with the war chiefs. You're going to be fine with damage for sure. So we're slowly heading on to the Scarab here. Between Visix, decreased speed, her turn meter down in the A1, ally protection is huge, keeping Vlad alive. Seal of Drakes, we all know how good she is. She has the increased speed buff that she puts on a random target. One key thing to note, you are going to need, what's it called? Blood shield accessories, at least one for every single champion here. That can be the kind of make or break if you can handle this content or not. If not, I mean, honestly, a shield set's not going to work. It's only going to last for the first time. You can try and risk it. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you have all three of these champions, you're going to be safe, even if he starts counterattacking. But you really want blood shield on at least two of the three champions here for you to actually be in a good spot here. So as we can see, the purple bar on the top left right here is going to be reduced pretty quickly here. Now, if you wanted to, between the regeneration gear, the healing we have here, we don't really need leech. So in a sense, we can disable that A2 and this run would be even quicker. So as time goes on, this is going to be easy. Like I said, with the gear I currently have on these champions, I can use all three of these in every single difficulty for the Scarab, and I can farm it without worrying about any type of loss. As we can see, they are extremely healthy. So keep that in mind here. I'm actually not even running War Master on any of these champions that would speed up the runs a lot. Like I said, I do want to show you guys the masteries, but the masteries I have here are built specifically for when I was trying to solo or duo this on the stage 100 of hard difficulty, and I just couldn't get it to work, even with Visix being as fantastic as she is as a champion. So if you wanted to do this, I would run the typical clan boss team, and it looks like you gotta love the 3% chance to do anything, right? These champions have, what I want to say, 450 or more, maybe a little bit less resistance, and the first version of the hard Scarab is taking the buffs. They should really get rid of that. I know many people have complained about it, myself included. It's kind of a stupid mechanic, but not going to harp on that for too long. So if you want to use these champions, everyone has these champions. They're really easy to gear. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't me convincing any of you to go for Vlad. If you don't plan on going for Vlad, you're not struggling anywhere that I've been talking about, whether it be faction wars. Can you use them in faction wars? Sure. Are there better options? Absolutely. But some people may need a champion that has good turn meter control, has the opportunity to apply leech in everybody. Now, remember that there are Valkyrie waves in stage 21 for undead, and Vlad, unless you're manualing and you're really risking him in a stun set, making sure he gets that stun off, you're still going to have a pretty hard time with that. So don't fully count on this guy. I'm sure it could be done with this guy in 4 epics. I'm not going to say it hasn't. I haven't personally tried it, so I can't tell you guys it's going to work for sure. But this isn't me telling you guys to fuse this champion. Look at what I'm doing here. Look at the screenshots that I showed you. Think about where your account is and say, is this good enough for me? Is this going to help me? If the answer, after you think about it, I mean, at least take some time to think about it. If the answer is no, what I would personally do, look at the fusion events, see what gives you the best resources, and just get as many fragments as you can without spending any money, but really focus on those free resources that you can get from farming. If it is within your daily routine, that's going to be the key here. If you can use Vlad, go for it. I mean, why not, right? One thing, and I really hate to say this is just the current situation we have with the upcoming dupe system. If you need an undead legendary for the guardian bonus system, I hate to say it, but what a way to get you to spend money. You get a legendary right here, and I know it has to be a duplicate. Maybe you can use this guy, trade him in for some life shards. I'm not sure if they're going to let you trade in any champion. I would assume not, but we do have a 2x void coming up, so while it normally feels bad to pull the fusion early on, after you've invested a little bit into getting the fragments here, it might not be a bad idea if you do get lucky enough to pull Vlad during this 2x event. Fuse him anyway, bump up that guardian bonus, bump up that life token status you could have to get that Sir Nick, because Vlad compared to Sir Nick, obvious choice. So that's pretty much my overview on Vlad the Nightborn. Let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty sure everyone's kind of thinking the same thing here. As far as arena goes, like I said, I've tested him in full damage gear. I think he's underwhelming overall, but I have my own tinfoil hat theory that all of these champions are underwhelming because they're anticipating this new duplicate system. Everyone's going to get stronger, guardian bonuses, and honestly, he is a mediocre legendary. He's not a bad legendary as far as a void goes. He's not an embarrassment to void legendaries. He's not the worst void legendary we have in the pool here, but he's not the best, and usually we do get a special one for Halloween if you think to the past what we've gotten. Now, here's hoping that the winter one is going to be a little bit better. I mean, that's what everyone's hope is going to be, and not Pixneal like last year. Maybe this time we're getting Pixneal. This is our version of our Pixneal for this year as far as important things, and the next winter one's going to be some crazy void. I'd be okay with that. I'm sure you guys would be too. So give me your feedback. We can only hope for the best. What do you think about Vlad, and where are you going to use him? If you're going to fuse him, or are you going to go along with the pattern of, I'm just going to get every legendary that's part of the fusion in case he gets buffed? Like I said, he's a mediocre legendary. He could potentially hit very hard with this faction guardian bonus. He's not far off from dealing a pretty decent amount of damage, so there could still be hope here. I mean, I'm really trying to grasp onto anything at this point. I think it's pretty clear to see. So those are my final thoughts on Vlad. Alright guys, that is going to conclude my video today. Let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next upload, and I will see you all in the next video.